Hey everyone, welcome back after our unplanned sabbatical. I am so excited to be back in your earbuds or your car speakers or however you listen to the show. We are diving deep into the subject of entitlement. This is one that I truly believe affects all of us in some fashion, and it's deserving of a conversation. So we're going to get into it today. And I'm not talking about I deserve a promotion or a spa day kind of entitlement, but actually spiritual entitlement and how we often project it onto God, our relationship with Him, and our life. Welcome to the Thought Vault, where we learn to unlock our minds to live with more purpose and bold intention. I'm your host, Emily Vermillion. Take a deep breath and let's get started. Do you ever feel like despite your best efforts as a mom, wife, parent, colleague, any role that you have, nothing feels like enough? Do you sometimes feel that God owes you an explanation for your sense of stuckness? Or maybe even daringly, do you feel that God should be blessing you more for all that you're juggling? If yes, then you're not alone, and today's episode is definitely for you. It's easy to misinterpret scripture as a promise for an easy life. Verses like Jeremiah 29:11 comes to the forefront, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. And while this is definitely a truth about God, it can sometimes lead us to feel like we are entitled to a life of prosperity and happiness on our own terms. But is that what the verse is actually promising? Absolutely not. And where does all this entitlement come from? Like in our consumer-oriented society, we are frequently exposed to messages that emphasize individual desires and preferences. Marketing is always telling us that we deserve the best or are entitled to particular luxuries. The implication is that your value is tied to what you can attain or possess. I just saw a jewelry commercial, and normally jewelry commercials in my history and past, a lot of them revolve around love and, a man falling in love with a woman, giving her a ring. And I just happened to notice that in this particular commercial today, it was all about give yourself what you deserve. So it was this woman going to shop, and at the start of it, it looks like she's shopping with probably her soon-to-be fiance. But then at the end of the commercial, it's her going to the store and buying what she wants and putting it on herself in the mirror. And so everything is just revolved around everything that we want is within ourselves. We only have ourselves. We only need ourselves. And self is the best version we could ever be, just ourselves. It's such a lie. And the curated lives shown on social media create an unrealistic expectation for what normal life should look like, leading to a sense of entitlement for a perfect life or relationship or appearance, the perfect looking family. And it often takes the form of compare and despair, where individuals feel like they are owed the same blessings or opportunities they perceive others to have. It's something that so many of us fall victim to. It's something I see repeated in a lot of my clients that I coach, because they come to me with an ideal of what they think their life should be. And once we peel that onion back and look at the different layers of what they actually value and who they really are, they sometimes realize the goals they have are not even their own goals. It's just this perception of what they feel like they need to have or should have. And it's built on falsehood. It's not even built on who they are in Christ and who and what they actually truly value to be. And it's so interesting to me because I have myself fallen victim to that, idealizing what I believe should be and how it should look, and basing my progress and goal setting on things that actually inherently aren't even for me or what God even wants for me. Entitlement can also be nurtured into our life from our parenting. Overindulgent parenting can contribute to a sense of entitlement in children. When parents give in to every demand or fail to set boundaries, children develop an inflated sense of their own importance, which definitely carries into adulthood. I've seen this so many times in situations in my own family, and then in friends and loved ones. It's interesting when you're in a relationship with someone for so long too, you like to start to see the things that they came to believe from their history and their past with their first family, I guess you could say, with their parents and their siblings. And sometimes even with coaching, I have to help people unlearn what they were nurtured to believe in their childhood. and help them to rewrite a more biblical foundational script, so to speak, for their mind to rely on rather than these nuances that were nurtured and taught to them by their parents and their upbringing. It's something also that I hope those of us who are parents are hyper aware of, because this definitely plays into the function of our children once they become adults and how well they are emotionally equipped to deal with life. Contemporary political discourse also plays a role into entitlement, particularly when it fosters a sense of rights without corresponding responsibility. While social justice is crucial for any developed society, the discourse surrounding it can sometimes shift from fighting for equitable opportunities to expecting guaranteed outcomes, which has been the underpinning for so much divisiveness we've seen currently here in America and in Europe, in the West, basically. It's the parts of society that have begun to bleed through in so many different areas and trying to make intersections between things that are truly irrelevant to one another. And we see a lot of strife and pain from all of that. Even religious teachings can sometimes contribute to entitlement, depending on the interpretation. For instance, the prosperity gospel within Christianity promotes the idea that faithfulness to God directly correlates with material blessing, fostering a sense of spiritual entitlement. And I've even had and heard of situations where pastors will condemn people and say, well, you don't have enough faith. That's why you're poor. Or you don't have enough faith and that's why you have cancer and you're sick. It's absolutely disgusting. That is not the gospel of Jesus Christ. We also see psychological underpinnings from things that people are taught in school. There's been a lot of this in the news lately, just the indoctrination or theory building that happens in higher education. Existentialism offers insight into this phenomenon. Existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre discuss bad faith, where individuals deny their freedom and responsibilities, sometimes blaming society or a higher power for their circumstances, thereby feeling entitled to something better without their own active engagement. The confluence of these factors create a social ecosystem ripe for the development of entitlement. Countering this requires a concerted effort to instill values of responsibility, humility, and gratitude, and Scripture teaches us and calls on believers to live a life of service and humility, much like Christ. Philippians 2, verse 3 through 8, you can read all about that. And this way, faith offers pathways out of the entitlement trap, steering us toward a life of purpose, accountability, and ultimately much greater fulfillment. Let's consider the life of Jacob, a biblical figure who is the epitome of a life marred by entitlement and deceit, but ultimately is transformed by God. Jacob deceives his father and robs his brother Esau of his birthright in Genesis 27. He starts off thinking he's entitled to blessings that aren't his, manipulating the circumstances to his favor. Jacob runs from the mess that he's created, and God meets him at Bethel. In a dream, God promises to be with him, to protect him, and bring him back to his land in Genesis 28, verse 15. But even then, the promise wasn't a life of ease. In fact, Jacob ends up working for 14 years to marry the woman he loves, Rachel, because her dad deceives him and has him marry his other daughter. And then Jacob is indentured to keep working in order to get his first promise of Rachel. When Jacob wrestles with God later by the river in Genesis chapter 32, his hip is permanently dislocated. It's as if God is saying, your plans, your entitlement need to be reminded of who really is in charge here. Jacob leaves the encounter not just with a new name, Israel, but a limp that forever reminds him of his dependence on God. He was not just physically impaired, but spiritually altered. And as people in this world, as moms, as wives, we wrestle with our daily roles, with our aspirations, and maybe even with God. And you know what? It's okay. Sometimes we need to wrestle to realize we are not in control and to truly surrender our entitlement. There's nothing like becoming a parent. It will definitely humble you into submission, and you will want to resist it because you have been living for yourself up until that point. And I have no idea how people who do not know God are parents too. I just don't, because my relationship with Christ has been the only beacon of help and strength to help me be what I need to be for my children and to raise them in a healthy, wonderful way, right? I'm not a perfect parent by any means, but the need that I have for Christ to help me with it, I can't comprehend people who don't have him. When we live entitled, we live from a place that robs us from having a relationship with Christ. Consumption, bitterness, and resentment begins to cloud our ability to live presently. And what a waste of valuable time that creates. Entitlement is the thief of appreciation. And this is how hope dies. Theologian Søren Kierkegaard speaks about the knight of faith, the individual who recognizes the transcendent power of God over human nature. Jacob becomes this knight of faith, relinquishing his sense of entitlement, embracing God's sovereignty, and thereby realizing his own purpose. Rejecting a life of entitlement requires us to shift our perspective from I deserve to God will provide. It's not easy. It's a lifelong journey. It can be all too easy to find yourself dreaming of a life where you are more than your current reality. And it causes an internal spiritual tension. What if we were to shift that perspective from entitlement to surrender, from I deserve to God is molding me? When we look at our lives through the lens of faith rather than entitlement, we can find deep joy and fulfillment, not in what we acquire, but in what we become. When we live in true faith, we live presently in our circumstance to go through what is in front of us, rather than languishing in the coulda, woulda, and shouldas. We are sinners, undeserving, but more than that, we are loved unconditionally. And love brings out the best in people, even when it's difficult. And just as a parent must teach and discipline a child, our God allows us to experience what is needed to help us grow more fully into who He has created each of us to be. So the next time you find yourself wrestling with unmet expectations or the belief that you're owed something, remember the story of Jacob. Reflect on how God may be using your trials not to punish you, but to mold you into the person you're destined to be. Often that path is not lined with rose petals, but with thorny bushes. Yet it leads to a garden of spiritual growth and internal freedom. And when we live a life that is rather focused on how we can serve God, we are able to let go of the resentments, the traumas, the things that have hurt us or caused us to feel less than, which is driving this frustration that makes us feel as though we don't have what we should. We can just live free in the fulfillment of God in our life and what that brings to us and who we truly are and what truly does matter. I've been on this quest lately to really simplify my life. While some of that is physical, me getting rid of things from our home just so that things can be more organized and have a place to be, and it makes us feel comfortable to be in our space, which truly has, research has shown, truly affects our mental state. And while I am simplifying those things, I'm also working on simplifying my mind and really working on this, which is why I wanted to talk about it, because I'm here to be relatable to you guys and to share what God is, imparting onto me through my journey. I feel like that's the best gift we give people as Christians is our testimony, our experience, and how God has been a part of that and what has been different for us because of Him. Feeling like you are frustrated, resentful, bitter towards God because you don't know why He's not giving you what you think you deserve, or why you don't have the things that you feel should be part of your story and, given to you because of your faith. These are things that keep us in this world, of this world. And this world is going to do everything it can to tell you what you should be, what you should have. The only thing you should have is hope in God's love for you and the truth that He died for you. The gospel saves. Not a job title, not a relationship status, not the house you live in, the car that you drive. We live in a society that tells us we must be entitled, that tells us we deserve what we haven't earned, that we need what someone else has. It's the lie. It's the first lie. Satan lied to Eve and Adam. He deconstructed their belief in God, their trust in Him. He made them feel that they could be God. And it is a lie to feel that we are entitled to anything. The hope is that we are loved anyway. We're loved unconditionally. And there is purpose for everything that we are going through. And if you can't see that, I implore you to be in prayer to God. He will reveal, and He is there with you no matter the circumstance that you're in right now. So let go. Try to reject the lie of entitlement and give yourself the opportunity to be in a relationship with God that allows you to feel empowered by His presence in your life and to feel excited for the fact that He loves you so much that He is helping, teaching you, discipling to your heart, disciplining you, and giving you the things that are necessary to let you live more fully and live in the way that He has created you to be. Entitlement is going to keep you down. It's going to keep you where you're not supposed to go. And it's going to keep you in the compare and despair situation. So let's rid ourselves of that. Let's rebuke it in the name of God. And let's get back to living a life fully for Christ and live in the empowerment that He is with us and He is working through our life. Entitlement keeps us in our feelings. It keeps us from experiencing fully what God is trying to use to grow us into more of His likeness and to truly give us opportunities to live out the purpose He has made for us. I pray that we all may shed our entitlement and grow closer to God through it. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the show. Please share and leave a review. Leaving a review means so much and helps the show get more seen in the search bar for people who come to listen to podcasts. So that would mean so much to me if you would do that. Also, if you haven't already, please get into our free private Facebook community group called the Bold Insiders and be prepared for upcoming things to be shared in there. It's a great place for us to just build a community and be there for each other and have a likeness with each other in that we are believers and we love the Lord and we are working on our personal growth, which is so much fun. And don't forget, if you are looking for some more help on getting a better life balance going for yourself and having more margin in your day to do the things that you want to do, then check out the course, Calibrate Your Compass. You can click the link in the show notes. It's just a quick course that's giving you the tools you need to help recalibrate your mindset, recalibrate your home, your daily routine, so that you can just build a life that's more full and easygoing and intentional, so that you can truly have time in your life for the things that God is calling you to do, and so that you can be more present in your day-to-day life and get some of that time back, that precious time we can't get more of. So just click the link in the show notes to check that out. It's a super cheap course that you can purchase and get started on right away. You have access to it forever. So check that out. And I love to see you guys sharing your thoughts and sending me messages. That is so helpful to me and such an encouragement to my soul when you guys message me or share a takeaway that you have. And please click the link in to submit your anonymous question or topic that you want us to get into on the show. You can submit it completely anonymously. If you want to leave your name, you always can. But we are planning out the content for that stuff. We've got submissions into that, and I'm really excited to start diving into things that you're specifically asking about and to just build community around helping and sharing wisdom, right? So check that out in the show notes as well. And until next time, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. Go live with bold intention, everyone. Bye for now.